Orale vatos! What's happening? Hyperion Burn Cho Xceed+X is in the house. With 4 new parts to cover, let's get this show on the road. It's an attack type quote-unquote layer using Takaratomi's new limit break system that does away with a chassis. It now combines a sparking ring and the lower half portion of a chassis, which makes it one tall, thick, and chunky layer. For comparison, a chassis has a built-in disc, as well as metal portions on top that determines how much outward weight distribution it has. Although physically smaller, 2S has more outward weight distribution than 2D, which is why it beats 2D in same spin stamina. Because Burn doesn't have any metal on it, its outward weight distribution will rest entirely on its disc, Cho. Comparing Cho to 2B, you can clearly see that 2B's metal portions extends further near its perimeter, which should give it more outward weight distribution. However, notice how thin this metal is compared to Cho's. This should give Cho a lot of stamina like it does with Wheel, which outclasses any double chassis to date. However, compared to Wheel, Cho's perimeter is thinner as shown in this side-by-side. In terms of weight, here's Wheel. Here's Cho. Although Cho is heavier, most of this weight is found on its center, which gives it more of a central weight distribution. With no way to use Wheel on a limit break ring and Cho on a regular sparking ring and chassis, we can only surmise that Wheel will still have the stamina advantage. Furthermore, Burn is only compatible with other limit break parts like this O-disc from its Vato, Helios Volcano. Firstly, you cannot put a single chassis like 1S or a double chassis like 2B on it. Secondly, notice how much taller Cho's prongs are compared to Wheel's. This allows Cho's prongs to reach far enough and be able to lock the driver. On the other hand, Wheel's prongs are too short to be able to accomplish this. The reason bays with double chassis rarely burst is that when they get hit by an opponent, its driver's weight alone is not enough to generate clicks against the inertia of the combined weight of its ring, chip, and double chassis. The limit break system makes the disc as a separate piece, just like how it was during the pre-sparking era. So now, the combined weight of the disc and the driver is much heavier than the combined weight of the ring and the chip. Here's Hyperion Burn. Here's Cho and Xceed+X. Therefore, when its opponent hits the burn ring, the inertia of the combined weight of Cho and Xceed+X has a greater chance to turn clockwise, go through its teeth, and then burst. Notice these 3 triangle marks which will number as 3, 2, and 1 respectively. This would now mean that this arrow indicator is set at number 1. These L and R letters stand for left and right spin respectively. All of them symbolize the trigger point on when the limit break gimmick will activate. Because the arrow is set at number 1, this means that for right spin, the gimmick will deploy on the first click. Conversely, if Cho is placed on a left spin limit break ring like Volcano, the gimmick will activate on the third click. When hit by an opponent and its disc moves by 1 click, these 2 arrows will push down on these 2 vertical tabs and voila! Its 2 pairs of short and large wings will deploy further outwards and increase its attack range. However, due to the wings being spring-loaded, it should hypothetically lessen the impact of its hits and thus decrease its attack power. Note that even if its wings are still retracted, it's already a smidge wider than the reigning widest layer, Hyperion. When its wings are drawn out, sweet cream on an ice cream sandwich! This is one thick fella! The current heaviest quote-unquote regular ring is Tempest. Here's Burn. As you can see, Burn is nearly twice as heavy. However, this is not a fair comparison as Burn has integrated teeth but has no disc. To level the playing field, we'll use 1S with Tempest so it will also have teeth but no disc. So now, here's Tempest 1S. Here's Burn again. Looking at it this way, Tempest 1S has the weight advantage. Its teeth is barely above its chip hooks. Therefore, it has poor burst resistance. This is similar to Glide as shown here using 1S. For better burst resistance, the teeth should be much taller than the chip hooks like this Infinite on the same 1S. Perhaps this is Takara Tony's way of showcasing its new limit break system by nerfing its clicks. With Burn being an attack type, it's almost guaranteed to deploy every time. Using Cho, notice how hard it hit Tempest, which means it has very good attack power. Using O, even with Hyperion Volcano's disc, it still hits hard. Using Cho with Burn swings deployed, as hypothesized, it doesn't hit as hard. This is because when its limit break gimmick is in effect, its contact points are now spring-loaded. Just like God Valkyrie, which also has spring-loaded wings as its gimmick, it too didn't hit as hard. Thus, it needed to use the Strike Valkyrie God chip, which disabled its spring-loaded wings to hit harder. This seems like a fundamental issue with Burn's limit break gimmick, as it will only be effective for attack if it's not activated. But I digress. using Super 1A, as already known, it hits just as hard as Burn. Using Rage 3A, as expected, it hits just as hard as Burn and Super, but here's the kicker, it's on left spin, yo! Burn has an aggressive, squarish shape that is further enhanced by these protrusions for maximum recoil. Its wide shape gives it tremendous attack range, and it really does hit hard as advertised. However, due to both its weak teeth and inability to use a double chassis, it's a significant burst risk every time there are strong collisions. In contrast, bursting is a rarity on Super and Rage due to their double chassis. Using Cho, aside from a couple of wall saves, it did a respectable job to fend off most of the hits. Using O, ditto for this one. It also did well on resisting hits from Rage 3A. Using a top-tier pure defense combo, as shown in the Infinite Achilles Dimension -1B Review Part 1, the Infinite Shield Ring offers some give to absorb attacks. Also, as shown in the World Spriggan Unite -2B Review Part 2, 2B's free spinning perimeter can also lessen the impact of hits. Lastly, Mobius's tip can act as brakes when hit. Compared to using Burn, this combo gave the Rage 3A combo the hardest time as it barely hit the walls of the stadium. Using Cho, its very aggressive shape simply is not meant to outspin things. Using O, it didn't matter as its heavy recoily shape drained its stamina every time it got hit. With a more aggressive shape, it has no business outspinning a more circular and smoother shaped Tempest. Using Cho, it stood no chance. Using O, it was heavily outclassed as well. A normal height driver like Extend Plus is just too short to give the underside of Cho or O any breathing room for LAD. So let's try a taller driver in Mobius. Using Cho, it performed poorly even when using an awakened Mobius against an unawakened one. Using O, it didn't matter as it didn't do good as well. Even when using the taller Mobius, it was worse off when its gimmick activates as it scrapes earlier. In contrast, when Mobius is used on wheel 1S, wheel's smooth underside gives it amazing LAD. And that concludes part 1, Vatos Locos. Stay tuned for the deep dive on Hyperion 2 and Xceed++X. Same Papabey time, same Papabey channel.